it's really hard to build a village when I don't trust anybody in my neighborhood.
Yep.
I don't trust anybody in my own direct family. So and then it begins to sprinkle itself all over the children when they also have seen this through all the lenses that they get to see it through: social media, through their eyes, through the eyes of their parents, through the pain of their parents, through the joy of their parents. They're all viewing this way of living life through these lenses until they figure out how to see themselves.
Welcome to another edition of the Father's Heart Podcast with Sean and Cole. Here we go.
Williams. What's going on, Sean, man?
Yo, I'm good, man. Just getting home from my son's football practice, and I am his coach. I am a head coach. So yeah,
Man.
not a head coach. I'm sorry. I'm an assistant coach. That's correct.
But you are the head coach, though. You the head coach. And
nah, I'm the assistant coach.
Fatherhood, but you were on the field. You're the assistant coach.
Yep. I'm just there to support, bro. I'm just there to support. So what's popping with you, man? How you feeling today, man?
Listen, man, I'm tired, so I ain't gonna hold you up. If you leave me alone for 2 minutes, I'll fall asleep. Yeah. But I'm happy to be here tonight, man. And I know that someone reminded me today that school is starting for a lot of families. So, are you guys in that space of like everybody getting prepared to head back to school?
Yeah, and the crazy thing, I got a freshman.
Man.
She's mixed about going back, but my son every day is like, Dad, I can't wait to go back to school. Like he excited, and I'm like, yup, keep living.
Yeah. What'd you say? Keep living.
Keep living, you know what I mean? Because I remember I was at that. You know what I mean? The exciting part was, me connected with my friends and all that type of stuff. But I mean, he's a people person. He loved rocking. And why you laughing at me, bro?
There we go. Because your volume went away.
My volume went away? That was yours.
No, bro, I'm legit. Too legit to quit.
All right, we'll see. So we got a good one, man. I believe we got a good one tonight, man. So, I have a question for you, right? So, my question to you is, does it really matter, right? Does it matter what men post on social media, especially as a father, as a parent, right? Because you're looking at me like that, but there's a lot of stuff that comes on the timeline, right? And depending on Facebook is and Instagram, they don't just show you anything, right? If you have stuff showing up on your timeline, it's only because you've been searching.
Oh, so okay. That makes sense.
So they pay attention.
I ain't gonna tell you what was on my.
Okay, so that's why I just want you to stop. Don't tell me what's on your timeline. So I want to stop you. I'm just going to stop you. All right. So what shows up on your timeline is what you have.
It's that algorithm.
It's that algorithm. Amber said, it definitely matters, and and that's why we want to tap into that. Amber, right? Because what shows up on your timeline is what you've been searching, what you've been talking about, and all that type of stuff, right? And so, on no judgment, but my thing is there are certain things that people post, and I'm not a judge at all. So, but my thing is, like, does it really matter, bro, as a father, as a parent, what you post on your social media? And I have some of my thoughts. My question to you, Cole, is does it matter, right? I'm grown. And I can post whatever I want to post, and whatever show up on my timeline is my business, right? If I'm into, that's what the dude can say, right? I'm into bondage. I'm into whatever the case. Yeah, I said it. He into whatever. That's showing up on his timeline, and he shares it. I mean, does that matter as a father, as a parent? And I said what I said.
Well, I think one of the things you just said too, man, is like I'm an adult, so I have the right to pick and choose what I watch, what I look at, what I type in my own browser. So I do believe that people have the right to do. I also do think that if I make the choice to do something like that, I also have to be conscientious of the fact that what I share, what I type in my browser may have some impact possibly on my family, especially my children. But then I also have people that say, "Hey, my children, we aren't friends on Facebook. We're not friends on any social media, so they don't necessarily see what I'm doing." So I think a person has the right to pick and choose what they put. But I also think that once you do that, you have to be responsible for the consequences that come from you posting that, whether it's a loss of friends, whether it's you gain more followers. But I think that what we've been learning is that there's always somebody watching. And as a father, how do you show up in these spaces? And what do you want people to know about you? So I think that men, fathers, they have the right to do whatever they want to do. But I also think that when we talk about what our children post, is it a double standard? So my question for you, Sean, brother, can there be a double standard? Would a father post what in terms of what he posts versus what he tells his children they can and cannot post? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so my thing is, I think there is a standard, right? I think there's a
Right.
standard, and it's not my decision to make the standard for everyone, right? Because I'm not the Facebook police. However, there is a standard in the household, in the Hart household, and so
Okay.
if I establish a standard, I must be the biggest advocate. I must be the one demonstrating that very behavior that I'm talking about, right? And so I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be transparent. A part that my kids, you know, challenge me on. One of the things I'm fearful. I have a 19-year-old who drives. You know what I tell her not to do?
Text and drive.
Text and drive.
Yeah. And what do you do?
And what does she see me in the car doing, every once in a while? And my kids and my wife is like, yo. So the thing about it is that kids do it, they don't do what we say, they do what we do.
I agree. I
And
agree.
so if I establish a standard of saying, I can say, yo, no, I'm a better driver. I've been, yo, dad, but you said that we can't do this, right? And so we grew up in the old school to where you do what I say, not as I do.
Right.
I'm grown. And
Right.
so I have to own that. And I had to, every once in a while, I have to tell my kids, I'm going to do better. I'm going to do better. And I do better, but I'm going to keep it 100. There's times when I do like, oh, I got to quickly do this. I got to quickly do that. And so a lot of times, man, people do the same thing on social media, right? So if you're telling your kids not to do one thing, I think it is a responsibility of yours to not do what you're telling them not to do. And
Yeah.
if you are, sharing, yep, Amber said, yes, we must maintain our own boundaries. We need to do what we say, personal integrity. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Right? Absolutely. Right? And I own mine. I'm like flat out. My kids will tell you I own mine, and I don't justify it, right? And just because I'm grown, like yeah, I can, like you know what? Yep, I got to do better, man. And I give them permission to call me out on it,
Yeah.
right? On the areas that I'm trying to hold them to a standard that I'm not living up to it. I'm like, oh, I got to get better, right?
Yeah. So here's something that recently popped up in a conversation I was having with a group of young men that I visited in the jail. Right. So I'm sitting in my classroom, and we're just talking about modeling. And one of the young men that I'm working with, he is headed to prison for a number of years. And one of the things that he said to me that really stuck with me is that he grew up without his father. As he's getting ready to transition into prison, his
Mm-hmm.
father returning from prison. And he said something really powerful. He was like, I'm really glad right now that my mom is dating a really solid guy, right? Because one of the things he said, he was like, I don't understand how everybody thought that I wouldn't become the men that I saw around me when I was surrounded by men, including the men that my mom dated, who taught me all the things that I now used as a skill that got me locked up. So I thought to myself, I'm like, when we talk about when we talk about modeling, when we talk about who's watching what we post, what we share, integrity, it also made me go back to listening to this young man who, is, I mean, a young guy and headed to prison for a number of years. And what he said was, I just followed the model that was in front of me. And these were the men that were around me that taught me. And now everybody is surprised that I'm going down the path that I had learned from watching other people around me.
Word.
And I thought to myself, man, who's responsible for what this young man's path is now? Is it his fault? Because, he ultimately made the choices, but he also is sharing that, what, it's everyone's responsibility that was around me. Everybody taught me this, and now they're
Word
surprised that
up.
I'm in prison.
That's
you
real.
know so I think that when we talk about this idea of social media, I think that's just one avenue, but I think it's really what you talked about just a minute ago, Sean, the Hart family. In your family, there is this standard, there is this level of a mission statement, that the family lives by and that you have all talked about and agreed to, and recognizing that you can make a mistake in that and still everyone will love you, but still hold you accountable. But I start to think about, how does that show up in real time?
Yeah.
There are a lot of guys modeling these ideas and sharing these posts, but these aren't posts that they're sharing. They're actually living this stuff out.
And
And
so,
so I think that's scary for me when I think about what I'm seeing behind the iron curtain, as they say.
man, that's so dope you say that. And so, your question towards me, right, is that there is a level of grace in what our standard is, right?
Okay.
Because listen, I don't cross every T and dot every I as much as I want to, and people may think, right? I don't. I'm human, right?
Right.
But the thing about it is that I am accountable to other people, that I allow other people in my life to hold me accountable, right? And so I think it's important that there is a standard that is established in households,
Okay.
and it's realistic, right? And so there's a standard that we establish, but then when my son or my children go outside the household, they're like, yo, those people over there, they don't live by that standard, that rule. So I'm like, oh, all right, here's the caveat. This is how you have to navigate that. Right? Because this is our standard is still the standard. Regardless of how you feel, the standard is still the standard.
Right.
That's key.
Right.
Regardless of how you feel, the standard is still the standard. The standard is not based on your feelings. It's based on the standard. And so what I have to do is teach you how to navigate that space over there, right? And I can't tell you exactly how to do it because this is your own path. But I'm going to give you some tools and some strategies that I think that work. But I need you to get your hands dirty. I need you. My son is playing football. 2 weeks ago, and I think I said it last week or whatever the case, 2 weeks ago when he first started, bro, very first day to put on the uniforms, this kid came through, bro, and made him question life itself. He questioned life. He like, yo, Dad, I don't even know if I want to play this thing anymore. I saw him over there. I saw him hurt. I saw him. The father in me, the nurturer in me, wanted to go over there and nurture him.
Yep.
But I said, you know what? If I run over there right now, I would destroy him. Right? Because the other kids, they don't play by the same rules. As much as I know what my son need right now, but for the long term, daddy is not going to always be there. I need him to learn how to navigate this space by himself. And later that day, he said, Dad, I looked at you and you didn't even look at me. You didn't even see me. You didn't look at me. I wanted you to come through. Bro, that hurt.
Yeah.
But I told him, I said, son, I saw it. but I didn't want to come to your rescue. I thought I would have did more damage than anything. And so my thing is, my whole point is that I wanted him to learn how to navigate that space. And later we was able to talk about how to process that, right? And now we look at, okay, what's next? How do we do this? So my thing is how he was feeling was critical. And I didn't want to dismiss his feelings. But the standard is still the standard, son.
Yeah, and that's really powerful too, Sean, because one of the other major challenges that we both see is that there are a lot of people that have a very difficult time, really managing the challenges around how to cope when there is a crisis that takes place, right? And so many young people that I serve have a huge or challenging time with problem solving. So it becomes, if they can't solve a problem, then they go back to some of those things that they think can solve the problem, which
Yep.
doesn't solve the problem at all, right? And so I often see with, and working with parents, encouraging them to do exactly what you just did, right? It's okay to allow our children to fall. It's okay to allow them to figure out how do I pick myself up? How do I dust myself off? With
Word.
knowing that there are still someone there in my life that loves me. They're not abandoning me, but how do I do it and build confidence too? I think that one of the things I quickly thought as a parent you were supposed to do is that you were supposed to go in and you rescue. You want to make sure that your children don't have any of the challenges that you had growing up. So sometimes without realizing that that pendulum will swing so far left that you end up creating more of a little monster than you had anticipated.
Absolutely.
Because these young people now that just have such a difficult time managing spaces. I had a young man say to me, he said, "Man, I'll be out of the detention center. My dad, all I gotta do is call my dad. He'll come and bail me out."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "How long have people been doing that for you?" He was like, "Since I was 8. That's your job. Your job is as parents is to bail us out." And I was like, "Oh man." And
Yep.
so looking at that, this is a 15-year-old who started this and started seeing very early on that the best way to get, to get what I want is if I do something, all I know, they'll come and rescue me. And then he doesn't have any self-confidence because he knows that I can make these choices and people will come and bail me out and we'll just continue down this path and it's okay. And so I'm thinking, man, how challenging that's going to be when at some point his parents can't bail him out.
But that's the thing, Cole, of in this space, man, is that a lot of times, and I'm gonna speak to women, man. We keep it 100. A lot of times, they want a man, but a lot of times they raising a boy, right? Doing everything for him, right? Want him to become this amazing guy, but don't know how to transition from him become, understanding that you're raising a man. It's a man inside that boy. That seed is there and it needs to be cultivated. I tell my kids all the time, man, you're going to be an adult a lot longer than you're going to be a kid. Every
Absolutely.
day I am trying to help you navigate this space because you're going to be an adult. And us, I even look at, I question some of the things that I did and that I do, more so what I did as raising my kids, right? In the name of I didn't want them to experience what I experienced, and then they get in a difficult situation, and I'm like, yo, like, why you fold like that? You know why they fold? Is because Sean, you were bailing them out. You wouldn't allow them. So I had to get to a place where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna fall back, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to a degree, like not just like
Right.
straight up run, but I'm like, yo, I'm doing you a disservice.
Yeah.
I'm doing you a disservice if you can't think on your own. I'm just looking like, man, did you really just say that? Then I'm like, well, it's your fault because you answered the questions for them when they were younger. You didn't allow them to process it. And so that's what happens, man, is that a lot of, women, they get with these dudes and their parents, man, never taught or raised them how to be a man, don't know how to wash his own clothes, don't know how to navigate a space of changing a tire, don't know how to pay a bill, don't know how to write a check, don't know how to advocate for himself, right? You mean just a lot of areas. Don't know how to make his own doctor's appointment. I'm just saying like little things, right? So now he brings this little human in, and now he doesn't know what to do.
Right.
And a lot of times, the women see how sexy and how handsome he is, and he got that energy, right? That
Yeah. Yeah.
energy, right? And so they're just like, man, you know what I mean? But then you get with him, you're like, yo, he's a grown boy. A grown boy. Don't know how to problem solve, angry all the time. I can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's part of the problem, man, is that we as society are a lot of times raising these boys to be boys and not boys to be men.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the women, bruh. Same thing with women.
Yeah. Yeah. And because what I've seen with oftentimes when women are raising girls, it's a complete different version of that. And often it's when raising girls to be independent and self-sufficient.
Come on, man.
Do not need anybody
do not need
because they so it really they can pay their bills. They can make their own doctors.
I don't want you to depend on no man.
Because if you have to depend on somebody, that means somebody might try to take advantage of you. So it is a paradigm shift, right? But it also goes back to that balance where there is a healthy dad who can step in and do some of those very things that a young man needs. I can always tell when a boy hasn't been raised by a man when I'm given a direction and he's upset with me, or I'm like, oh, you've never been fathered, have you? And so, what do you mean by that? I'm like, well, I'm saying something to you that is it's not an attack.
I'm giving you directive, and I'm stern.
Directive, but for you, that is now you're argumentative. Now you want to like raise your voice and do all this extra stuff. But
you want to fight. You want to fight. You want to, yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm like, oh, that's not going to move me. I'm not changing, but this is what I'm going to suggest you try out. And so I'm like, wow, there's so many of our young men who have not had the opportunity to have the influence of men. But that's another thing too, Sean, I hear a lot of times, and I'm just going to say this too. I hear this more than I hear anything else when I'm working with young boys of color, 17 and under, is that many of them have not come in contact in their mind with a positive black male role model. And then I end up working with older men, and they say the same thing, where I haven't had access to a healthy black man. And I'm like, well, man. Then I had to think about my own childhood, and I was kind of shocked when I thought about my own experiences. I was like, well, yeah, I didn't play sports, so I didn't come in contact with a black man.
But let me push back, right? With some of those dudes that say that. I think sometimes they do, but they reject it because it's not what they show on TV or they rap about, right? Because the healthy black man that come in their life, because the dude who I am today, I'm not the dude who I was back in the day, right? So for many kids, they like, yo, I ain't trying to talk to that dude. I ain't trying to talk to him. He old. He old head, right? You mean I can't relate. And so they reject it, right? Because now I'm coming with a different perspective and a different swag. Yeah, I can relate on so many levels, but at the end of the day, I'm still old head to him. And so they will reject what I'm saying, right? And it's not until they get incarcerated or get, stuck between a rock and a hard place, they're like, well, nobody ever came to save me. That's that story where people say, my man was stuck on a little island and he wanted to get out, and he's just like, I'm waiting on Jesus. And he wound up drowning, right? Had like 80 people come through. And he died and go to heaven. And he like, yo, Jesus, I just want to know why you ain't come through? Why you ain't say? He said, yes, I did. I sent, remember this person? Remember this person? Remember this person? I sent them through to help you. But you rejected everything because it didn't come, it dressed the way you thought it was supposed to be dressed.
So does that go back to programming?
Absolutely, it does go back to programming.
What you just described is media and the one narrative story of how a man is supposed to show up in the space. And
absolutely. Absolutely. I saw a picture of Jay-Z. They showed a picture of Jay-Z, the young Jay-Z when he was iced out, had all of this, ice on him, and I think he was worth about $1 million, a little over $1 million. And then they showed a picture of him like last year or something like that, and now he worth a couple bill or whatever, and now he didn't have any ice on that. All he had was just this suit, right? But the thing about it is that young cats want to listen to the one with all of this jewelry, right? Most dudes, I remember when I met my father-in-law, and I was on that tip during that time, but I knew my father-in-law was a real one because when he pulled his money out of his pocket, what was on top were ones. But underneath, you didn't know because it was wrapped in ones. But underneath was like hundreds and fifties and 20s and all of that type of stuff. And that's the thing with a lot of men today, bro. They wrapped in the hundreds. They look the part.
Yeah.
But they're fraud.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the real ones is like, yo, I don't have nothing to prove, bro. I don't have to do all of that other stuff that you're talking about. Right? And a lot of times the young cats, they reject it, bro. I don't know how we got here.
Well, and it's easy to reject it if I've never had access, if I don't have a relationship with it. If I don't have a relationship, then, and I think it always goes back to that. Who are young men and young women having relationships with?
That's true. So my question to you is, at what age do we put responsibility on them?
Yeah. No, I think the responsibility. I think responsibility is in degrees, right?
Okay, talk to me.
Because I think you can't hold a 5-year-old to the same responsibility that you hold a 13-year-old.
Yep.
So I think it comes with degrees, maturity, and age. But I also think that in order for that to happen, I think you also have to have an array of people that are willing to stand up and be a part of the team of supporting children. I often find that adult trauma shows up in parenting.
Yes.
Which goes back to childhood trauma. So it becomes this vicious cycle. So, it's really hard to build a village when I don't trust anybody in my neighborhood.
Yep.
Or I don't trust anybody in my own direct family. So and then it begins to sprinkle itself all over the children when they also have seen this through all the lenses that they get to see it through: social media, through their eyes, through the eyes of their parents, through the pain of their parents, through the joy of their parents. They're all viewing this way of living life through these lenses until they figure out how to see themselves. But by the time they do that, they've already seen themselves in so many different lenses that they don't even know who they are. They can't recognize themselves either.
That's good.
So I think responsibility goes to all of us in terms of how we show up for children, and that's one of the things I always speak to too. It's like, I think we have to do a better job of how we view children. I don't think we do a good job in this society of taking care of our children at all. Hands down, I just do not think we do. And I've seen it time and time again that the village is not necessarily the village that it used to be. And a lot of times in these villages, adults don't take responsibility, sometimes not only for their own children, but sometimes for other people's children. So, I think that we all have a major role to play. And I think that if we want to see things differently, we have to take some responsibility. So when I say I'm going to call you, whether I'm your cousin, your brother, your uncle, your neighborhood, your mentor, it's important to kind of show up. And then if you can't, don't make any excuses, but continue to try to build that relationship. I just think it all goes back to relationships. So when I look at kids, I'm like, who are you in a relationship with? Tell me about your family. What kind of relationship you have with your mom? What kind of relationship you have with your dad? Do you have one with them? Do you want one with them? What is a relationship? And I think you can find a lot when you ask kids about relationships.
I like it.
Just my thoughts. So,
and I think we're going to end on that. And I think we're going to pick up on that right there, because I've been doing some reading and I've seen some statistics and some biases and some things I want us to tap in about Black fathers. Really interesting. I like it.
Okay.
What the narrative is and what the true data really is.
Yeah, let's do it.
But I like that word, and we're going to park there.
We'll park there. So
legit or not legit?
We started off talking about media, right?
And how did we get to
I don't know how we got there, man. Maybe it was the spirit. I don't know. So
Yeah.
shifting
So
it goes back to relationships. So this legit or not legit, man. Sean, is it legit
hold on.
to?
I'm pretty excited because you brought a legit to
I did,
to the
man.
people
You know,
tonight.
I don't never bring these legits to the table.
This is good. I'm
But
ready.
this is about relationships, right? Is it legit or not legit to consume pornography without telling your partner?
Ooh.
Legit or not legit? Is it legit or
Ooh.
not legit to consume pornography without telling your partner? Yeah,
I like it. I
because
like
it's
it.
a we these are the conversations that I'm having in spaces, and I'm like, wait, is that legit? Is that considered cheating? That's
I
cheating if you don't tell your
I
partner to
like
watch
it.
pornography.
I like
So I
it.
thought, let me ask the audience, let me ask Sean, legit or not legit? Is it considered cheating, or if you're consuming pornography and you don't tell anybody about it?
So
Just
you
kind of
saying is it legit for you to consume without your partner knowing?
without your partner knowing.
It's not legit.
Man,
And other people may have a whole nother thought. Mine is not legit, right? And mine may be personal because you know my story of how I struggled, over the years, man, until I just got my freedom, right? So
man.
this is a soft spot for me.
Okay.
Where religiously, from a faith standpoint, there's a stance, right?
Yep,
So
absolutely.
let's go beyond the faith part, right?
Yep.
Because everybody don't believe what I believe or you believe or whatever the case.
Right.
But I just believe that if one get caught up in that, it can become a wedge or barrier between the two. It can challenge the intimacy, right? Unconsciously, right? Because that is always can be an escape. That if she doesn't want to perform or he doesn't want to perform, oh, no worries, I'll go over here. And so I'll get what I need over here without trying to reconcile what the issue is over here,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Or when your partner is ready to perform and you can't perform because you already given yourself to somebody else through
Right.
that virtual space,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? So that's my thought. So I just say not legit.
Yeah.
My partner, my wife, my lover, my homie, she definitely knew. And and my thing is that I know that was something I couldn't be involved in because that was definitely an issue in my marriage. As far as intimacy, it became a barrier. Where some
Yeah.
people I know, both of them, both parties, they rock out with it, but they both know.
But they both know.
They both
Okay.
know and they both use it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I agree with you too. I thought it was not legit. I'm like, one, if you have a partner, you shouldn't be keeping secrets from your partner. So, I mean, if you're keeping secrets from your partner, that brings on a whole nother ball game that you got to unpack. So, I think it's really important, to just kind of be transparent. But then, as
But I'm
we're
not cheating. I'm not cheating.
listen, but and when as we started digging and moving through this, it also started coming back to this was childhood stuff. This is stuff that I had been exposed to. This was, so then it moves into that, and I'm like, man, this stuff goes a lot deeper than just turning on something and being aroused by it. That it could have some ramifications that go all the way back to something
We
associated
might
with
have to talk about this. We might have to talk about this on the topic, man.
yeah.
I
So
mean,
it's a real thing, man.
it is a real thing, man. I was exposed to it when I was 7 years old, man.
There we
Seven,
go. There we go.
seven, bro,
Yeah,
7.
yeah, yeah. So I think it's a topic I think we should at some point cover
Yep.
because it's popping up more and more. I'm seeing it in my work, and I'm seeing it, and it's a larger conversation. And to think about this too, if we're talking about role models and who is
Jumbo, come in here and look at this.
yeah. I mean, I can't tell you how many things my uncle and my grandfather told me I was supposed to do if I had a bump on my face. That's a whole nother ball game. all
I
these
ain't,
messages.
I didn't hear that. You gotta wait you gotta wait till we had a topic. I never hear that one.
Oh man, all the stuff you supposed to do if you get a bump on your face.
Oh, okay. If you got pimples breaking out.
Yeah, you got some pimples on your face, boy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Boy, you better.
Okay,
What?
I got it.
I'm
Yep.
14. I didn't even know you supposed to.
Yeah, your pimples will go down.
Yeah.
But they won't.
But they won't. They won't. I'll just leave it there. They won't.
They won't.
And on that note.
Boy, you talking about?
Signing out.
Signing out.
It's always good, brother. It's always good.
Till next time.